Hey, True Crew. Thank you for joining us today for our new series, It's a Delicious Day in Your Neighborhood. That's right, Joe and I are going to go on location and visit neighborhoods throughout St. Louis and discover their history as well as their food scene. So we're going to talk about longtime food pillars, the heavy hitters, and the hidden gems in each of our neighborhoods. So come and join us as we deep dive into our hometown, Kirkwood.
So Lydia, we are here in downtown Kirkwood.
I know. Listen, I'm going to tell you, I'm super excited about this series, and I think as you and I were going back and forth about where to start and what to do, why not more better than our own neighborhoods where we live?
We're just going to start here. It's like if we're going to talk about all of the food and various neighborhoods, and this is based upon what we're hearing from our Chew in the Lou followers. We get such great response when we talk about different neighborhoods, and people want to say, "Hey, head to this neighborhood," or what's your recommendation for this neighborhood or this part of town? We thought that makes a natural thing for us to do on the podcast. So this is our beginning of that journey of getting out of the station more and getting into the community more to talk about the things that people are eating where you are. And we're going to start with where we are, which is the Kirkwood area. So we are actually in the historic downtown Kirkwood train station right now, filming this podcast episode. So you've got some great background noise that you guys are going to hear. If we're lucky, we may get a train roll through here in a minute or two. I don't know. We'll see. Kirkwood Road is right outside the window behind me. So if you hear a garbage truck or two go by or cars revving their engines, we are in the thick of it here in downtown Kirkwood right now. There are people loading in for the train that's coming in. Yes. So there is stuff happening in the Kirkwood train station.
It is hustling and bustling here at almost 4 o'clock.
Yes.
It's crazy.
It is.
It is. So, well, I think it's good to tell everybody that, Joe, this is where you grew up. So you have a plethora of memories of places that once were, that are now, and excitement for what is to come. So.
Yes, there's a lot in Kirkwood. You know, the brief history obviously is that this entire neighborhood really sprung up around this train station. Yes. That's why we are here.
Yeah.
Because it is one of the few functioning train stations in the St. Louis area besides downtown. So if you're going to head out of St. Louis on an Amtrak train somewhere, you're either picking it up in downtown or in Kirkwood at the train station we are in.
I know. Well, so here's what I found out today. So I was talking with Bill, who's the gentleman that runs our train station here in Kirkwood. But the interesting thing about the Kirkwood train station is, well, like you said, Kirkwood was developed because of the train. So this was the first suburb that came from the city. People, started to build around the train station. But what I love is that at Amtrak basically said, hey, we're no longer going to provide employees for this train station. And the city of Kirkwood said, okay. And they provide volunteers. So this train station is ran by volunteers. So they come here, yeah.
Didn't know that.
There's one gentleman that is here that basically maintains it, and that is our gentleman that we were talking to, Bill. But everybody else that is here to open the doors and maintain the buildings are all volunteers of the city.
I love that.
Yes, they're here to keep it alive and keep it going.
Makes me feel warm and fuzzy on the inside.
I know. Well, and the other fun fact is that this train station you can actually rent out for events. So at night they'd have it open for weddings, or you can do like business events here.
And I can see why.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful stone building, beautiful woodwork on the inside. And what's not to love about the fact that any window you look out, you spot delicious food in downtown Kirkwood.
Exactly.
And then just a quick historical note about not downtown Kirkwood, but on the outskirts of Kirkwood. Did you know, Lydia, that the very first St. Louis bread company, that's right, folks, was the harbinger of what became Panera Bread. The first one was in Kirkwood on Manchester Road at Manchester and Woodlawn.
I did.
That was the bread co that as a small child I went to and got chicken and wild rice soup in a bread bowl as a small child. And that is forever my stereotypical Panera meal.
Yeah.
Is chicken and rice soup in a bread bowl.
Well, and I love that that location shifted open to its own freestanding location right across in the Schnucks parking lot.
They added a drive-through, thank God.
Right, but then it is also now, it's like home, it just basically was like a new home. So Kirkwood Brew House went in there, and now Rico and Pie Pizzeria
Yeah.
are in there. So it did not lose its vanity of being a restaurant. It stayed the same.
So if any of you have ever been to that old Panera or the old St. Louis Bread Company, that was the original St. Louis Bread Company.
That's right. That's right. And the St. Louis, or the Panera, whichever one you want to call it, is their headquarters is just right over the other side of the highway in Sunset Hills. So they're keeping it close to home, aren't they?
Amazing stuff.
I love it. So, okay, so Kirkwood is one of the very first. So 63122. So when we talk about Kirkwood, we're including Warson Woods and Glendale and Oakland. So there are some wonderful little hidden gems throughout the whole thing. But let's take some deep dives, because I think sometimes there are things here in Kirkwood that are kind of surprising. Like there's a Franklin Lloyd Wright, if I could say his name right. There's a house of his here. They got the Magic House, the new Performing Arts Center that's here too. So there's a lot of great places to go. But here in downtown Kirkwood, where we're at, a lot of the buildings that are here are still fairly old. Geyer Inn. Have you been to the Geyer Inn?
I've actually never been to the Geyer Inn.
You've never been. I've gone once. So when we talk about our longtime pillars, I'm going to tell you a little story about Geyer Inn. So
I've seen it from being at the Kirkwood pool
Yes, I have
and
too.
looking across the way and being like, I need to, they call it like the Stumble Inn or something like that. I think I remember hearing that. Like, because it's just, I think a lot of blues fans go there for blues
They
games.
do. Well, so let me give you the backstory behind it. So it is, I've seen it too. I remember looking at it, sitting in the lazy river in the little tube.
Exactly,
and be
that's where I see it
What
too.
is this random cobblestone house in between all of these sided, like newly remodeled tear downs and built ups? And it's the Geyer Inn. So this is the great dive bar of Kirkwood. So it was actually built in 1904. It was originally a gas station and then turned to a tavern in 1930. And then, ever since then, it's been the local watering hole. And the reason why blues players come to it is because back in 2012, Jimmy the Soup Campbell purchased it and helped renovate it. And essentially, him and his wife renovated it. And his wife actually was, I guess her great uncle owned it back in the 60s. So it's continued to stay in the family. But it was probably the most hysterical in my experience. I went there for I think it was a kindergarten parent meetup. You can bring your own food. But it's a tavern. You're like walking into someone's house. We walk into the bar and there's like a birthday party going on. There's a banner and you're like, am I supposed to be here? And they're like, oh no, go out back. So we go out back and it's like half grass, half of that like putting green stuff. There's picnic tables. It's like slanted ground and you're just like, oh, the beer's gonna taste so good here. Like this is gonna be.
I love when you walk into a place and the first thought is, oh, the beer's gonna taste really good.
It's gonna be
here.
great. Like that it's got some age to it. So, but that is the local watering hole.
That's awesome. You have other longtime pillars in this community. You've got Spencer's, Spencer's Grill right here on Kirkwood Road. That's been here like 75 years, I think is what someone told us.
And they just newly got a facelift over COVID. They decided to expand outward and they repainted the outside of it. So
Very nice.
It looks lovely.
Very nice. I've never eaten at Spencer's Grill. I've driven by it a billion times.
Listen,
but I want to say, I remember someone told me their patty melt was really good.
Their patty melt's great, but for breakfast, they're slingers. So that classic
too.
St. Louis slinger is incredible there. Here's what I'm going to tell you about Spencer's. It is always full. That place is always packed. And one day I said, hey, you know what? Gosh darn it, I'm going to go in there and try this out. It is a classic diner feel. You walk in and they have the flat top grills that they're cooking their hash browns and their pancakes on. But then you also sit down at the counter. So they have a counter option and then they have booths. And I'm happy that they've expanded because there's always somebody that wants to get in there. So I would say if you're looking for a great classic diner breakfast, Spencer Grill is the place to go.
So speaking of patty melts, if we're going to talk about that for a second, Ice and Fuel up the street here on Kirkwood Road too. It's another longtime pillar, been here 30 plus years. So Ice and Fuel is another kind of one of those dive bar kind of places. Ice and Fuel, I can remember in that time right after I graduated college when me and my friends were 22, 23, 24, 25, before we had kids, but we all could meet up on a Monday night because we had nothing else to do after work. We would meet up there. It was probably a 3 or 4-year period where it was like, oh, Monday night, let's go to Eisenfuel. And we would meet up there and get the longest table and push them all together. There'd be like 20 of us. And we had the same waitress every night. She was fantastic. And we all would get just pitchers of beer and all order sandwiches. And I always got a patty melt and curly fries. And it was before they banned smoking. Thank God they finally did that. So it just stunk in there, and you stunk when you came home from there. But I have great memories of Ice and Fuel, of just that dive place that you just meet up with friends.
Oh yeah, it is definitely one of those bars. It's a great place to go and play darts. And it's very dark too. It's like got neon lights in the corner, and like the ambiance is very dark.
Classic.
So let's talk about some other longtime pillars, which I also feel are kind of like hidden gems in the neighborhood. So we've got Cafe Provencal, which if you're never looking, you kind of got to look for it. It's kind of hidden, like you pull in, there's this little shopping center, but it's kind of hidden in there. Really unique place. You can go there and get escargot, and they've got, I took my daughter there and she was in love with their steak and fries, but it's delicious, authentic French food. And then the other one is Citizen Kane.
You got that is the kind of the fine dining pillar of Kirkwood, right?
It is. Well, it's like, I will tell you folks, I have yet to go. It's on my list. But I can tell you how good a day-old Citizen Kane steak is, because this is the place that my in-laws will go to celebrate anniversaries or any other big event. And they usually will bring home a leftover, and then my husband and I will sit and cut those strips, and the meat is just perfection. Even in the refrigerator the next day, you're like, it is well seasoned, it is breaking apart, melting in your mouth. It is good. And I'm excited too, because next door they have a marketplace where they sell their cuts of meats and their steak sauces. And if you are a food is love fan, Loster came and did a whole episode on Citizen Kane. So very much to that.
Well, so Citizen Kane's is a longtime pillar, but I think it's a good transition for us to go from them as a longtime pillar to also a current heavy hitter.
They are,
because they are one of the heaviest of hitters in Kirkwood when you think of fine dining. But I think there's a couple other who's hot right now. So in the current day and age in Kirkwood, what are the it places to grab food, and who's doing great things?
So I'm going to tell you just right off the bat, and I know it's crazy because when you drive to it, you're like, how is this?
You know exactly what you're going to say.
This bakery in this, you would expect the pedigree of his French training and the delicious pastries that he puts out to be in a gorgeous Parisian sort of ambiance and everything, but it is in a little shopping center. And I'm talking about, folks, Nathaniel Reed. He is a James Beard semifinalist for his pastries.
And he's going to win one of these days. That place is that good.
It is so good.
Let's all pause and recognize what is happening on the very northern end of Kirkwood. We're not talking downtown Kirkwood. We are not kidding when we say a strip mall on the north side of Manchester Road and Geyer.
Yeah.
It's amazing stuff, folks.
You will kind of be surprised, but you walk in there and it's quaint, but it is a well-oiled machine. It kind of reminds me, and not in the vein of it's intense, but it kind of reminds me of the Soup Nazi episode on Seinfeld, where you have to know what you're going to order, and you need to be ready to shout it out when it comes time, because there is a line and it needs to move fast. No one's going to deny you a croissant if you don't know what you're talking about, but it is very much.
And get the croissants, everybody. Get the croissants.
I was transformed back to Paris the first time I ate his croissant. That's, the flakiness, the butteriness. It's a love affair with Nathaniel Reed. So.
And even it's picturesque. There are things that he makes. You can't open up a Sauce magazine or a Feast magazine or a Post-Dispatch food thing or see any write-up on the food scene in St. Louis on any major national publication without a mention of Nathaniel Reed and pastries.
Yeah, Food and Wine actually just published their brownie recipe, which is phenomenal. Okay, so we talked about Nathaniel Reed. We know about him, but I think the other one, which is also kind of like a fun, Billy G's. Billy G's is the heavy hitter in Kirkwood. That place is always packed, and especially during the summer, that patio is hopping. Live music, they've got a fire pit there, they've got thousands of seats. Probably one of the best happy hours that you're going to find.
Yes.
But Billy G's is definitely one of those.
It is. It's kind of the cool. It's the in crowd right now in Kirkwood. Like if you're going to hang out with somebody in Kirkwood, you're going to meet up with them. It's like, where are we going to meet? Oh, we're going to meet up at Billy G's if you can find a table.
It's where you're going to go cougar hunting in Kirkwood.
And there is some cougar hunting to be had in Kirkwood.
There is. Oh.
I love it. Producer Veronica is rolling her eyes and questioning that, but yes, that is what you think it means.
The older rich ladies.
I'm 40 now. I know what that means. And the last heavy hitter, and we're going to talk more about this later with our special guest, is the Kirkwood Farmers Market.
Yes.
Not a restaurant, but definitely restaurant quality food being served out of some of the stalls in the Kirkwood Farmers Market, as well as great food options that you can buy there year round almost. And we've got more of that coming up with our special guest in a little bit.
We do. Now, I want to talk about some hidden gems. Every neighborhood has them, okay? And the one that always surprised me every single time I drive past it, I'm just like, how have I not been here yet? But it's hidden. And it's Pepe's Apartment 2. Have you ever been there?
I've never been there either.
Okay, so here's where it is.
I am like drive by and I'm like, what is this little place?
It is this fine dining, white tablecloth, upscale, romantic Italian. It like spills over everything. It's got chandeliers and crisp tablecloth, and it's actual really refined service. It's been there forever.
My mom loves it.
Yes. It is where you want to go if you want really upscale Italian. And so the crazy thing is, folks, is like if you haven't driven past it or if you're wondering where it's right next to Merrimack College parking lot. So it's like you look at.
So it's at Geyer and Rose Hill.
Yes, yeah. So I keep passing it when I would drop my kids off for summer school at Tillman, and I'd go out towards Big Bend, and every time I'm like, I need to go here. And that is our little hidden gem. Like people in Kirkwood know, like, hey, outside of Citizen Cane's, that's the other place you go for really nice, upscale, fine food. And then the other one that I love is Comet's Croissanteries and Creamery. Have you ever been there?
I have not, but I've heard you talk about it.
Yes. Okay, so it's up off Woodbine. And the crazy thing is that if I was a college student and this is right next to where I live, I would be so fat eating those croissants because it's right next door to a laundromat. So I could imagine dropping my heavy loads of laundry off and going next door. But this place is actually the production place for Comet Coffee that's downtown, their main place.
Well, people love Comet Coffee.
Oh, yeah. So it's good. You can go there and their butter croissants, their almond bear claw, their pain au chocolat, and then they have like 4 little seats that you can sit at. So it's a very small place. You go in, you order, and you basically leave. But it's really, really good. But what about you? What's your hidden gem?
So I'm a big fan. So I actually live in the Glendale area. It's Kirkwood, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But so Haneke's is the little market on Sappington Road that has been there ever since I lived on Sappington Road as a child. Back then we called it Tomboy. It was an old Tomboy store. And in there they have a deli counter and they do deli sandwiches. And we love to take our kids in there and just get deli sandwiches, either hot or cold. They have an Italian sandwich that really just pops. It's just a fantastic sandwich. It's easy.
Yeah, it's the place after school that the kids all congregate outside. You see bikes and helmets everywhere.
Well, what I love about it, they still do family accounts.
Yes.
So like our kids can run down there on their bicycles and charge things to our family account, and we can pay the bill at the end of the month.
Until you get the bill and you're like,
until I get the bill, and I'm like, wait a minute, did you buy Powerades for the whole 3rd grade class? Like that happened one time, so be careful. Or sour straws. God, the kids love to buy that stuff. But like I like to run in there and be like, oh, sandwiches for the whole family, put it on the account and make my wife pay for it later.
Yes, there you go. There you go. Well, and the other one too is Sunset 44, which is the happy hour. It's right here on the corner. When you look past it, there's an Edward Jones, and then it's kind of hidden there. There's like a nice little awning on the outside of it. But Sunset 44 has an incredible happy hour. I remember going there for Mother's Day brunch. They've got a buffet in there, so that's another little hidden gem. I think a lot of times gets missed. Let's talk about the up and coming.
Because there are up and coming things.
It is. So I gotta tell you, like, we have a list of people, and I'm sure that if you've read, you've seen it. Riverfront Times has covered them. You know, sauce. Honeybee's Biscuit, which was at the Kirkwood Farmers Market. These thick, delicious biscuits. They're getting a brick and mortar here. Tellulo Coffee right off Monroe was another person at the Kirkwood Farmers Market that found home here.
So it's Tellio?
Tellulo. Or Tellulo.
Because I always pronounce it Teleo.
Oh,
and I
it
want to
is
make
Teleo.
Is it Teleo? Because I want to make sure I wasn't saying it wrong. I want to make sure because I need to go in there and I want to like say hi. I want to, but I want to be like, hey guys.
Yes.
I want to make sure I got it right. So.
What it is? Well, it's after a Bible verse.
Oh.
And so there, love thy neighbor is everywhere. There's beautiful plants inside. The coffee is great. The names for the coffee are fun. They're all, around things. It's a good place to go. And upstairs, it's really cute. So she transformed this house. And so upstairs, there's an actual place for you to take your kids. There's a room with toys. So if you're a mom and you're looking to go.
Hot dang.
Right? You go upstairs with your little toddler. You let them play. You get to have mom time with your other girlfriends. So she thought about it all. But that's one new up and coming.
Good afternoon, folks.
This is awesome. So as you can see, we are in a working train station. So we've got the Missouri River Runner coming in here in about 20 minutes, apparently. I love it. People are starting to file in with their snacks for the ride head to Jeff City and Herman in Kansas City. So
listen, there's no shame. This is usually like the Kirkwood mom thing to do. Is you hop on the train, you go to Herman. You do the wine trip and then you come back.
Yes, that is the Kirkwood mom thing to do. That's about right. So I think the big up and coming thing in Kirkwood that everybody is all aflutter about, and myself included, because at 9PBS we have a really good relationship with this business, is Four Hands Brewing is opening up a second location here in downtown Kirkwood. Just down the street here from the train station in the old down by the station location. It used to be a shop. It's got a little trolley attached to it, or a little caboose attached to it. They're going to keep the caboose. They're going to build a giant patio out back. They're not going to do any brewing here, from what I'm told, but they're going to have taps and a beer garden. And then Kevin Nashin from Peacemaker is doing the food for it. So it's Peacemaker food, which is going to be absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
And just another place right across the street from Billy G's that is really just going to,
I feel like they're going to have to shut down the street because there's probably going to be a massive block party.
It's going to be like a zoo,
night.
cougars everywhere. No, really, I'm not a cougar, and I'm going to hang out there because I love Four Hands stuff. Because, we had our Unmute Yourself beer with them this year. We're getting ready to have conversations about what the next beer creation is with them. Who knows? Maybe we'll do our beer creation party at the new Kirkwood location when it's built.
Amazing.
How cool would that be? But I think that's one of the big things that's coming. And I'm interested to talk in a little bit when we have our interview. And who's our interview person?
So our interview is with Donna Poe. She's the woman she's in charge of the special district.
Yeah.
I cannot talk today. The Special Kirkwood Business District. She's the executive director, so she has a little bit more idea.
So I'm interested in having that conversation with her, because when you look at what's coming with Four Hands, with Honeybees, with Teleo Coffee, but then you layer in, there are maybe a dozen restaurants that have opened or are opening a second or third location of their place here in Kirkwood. So I'm thinking Mission Taco has their third location here. Revel Kitchen opened in Kirkwood, a second location. Chicken Outs, second location is in Kirkwood. Sugar Fire opening a location here. High Point Burgers opened a location here. Four Hands we talked about. Poke Doke has just opened a location here in the plaza across the street. Pie and Rico is a third or fourth location for Pie. Hot Box Cookies just opened a location in downtown Kirkwood. Strange Donuts has a satellite location here in Kirkwood. So I'm curious, what is it about Kirkwood? Does Donna have an answer to that? Was that a campaign they wanted to do? Did they do a bunch of outreach to St. Louis famous restaurants to say, okay, you guys have made a name somewhere, let your second location be here in Kirkwood?
Yes.
Because it seems like that's happening, and I love it.
It'll be good. I'm excited for it. Being someone that lives in this community, it's nice to be able to have such variety to pick from. So, and I feel like when we're talking about how special this area is in Kirkwood, I think it's also really cool to mention that we do have two businesses, especially in our downtown, that provide and create job services and job training for adults with special needs. Between Sammy's Soap, which is a longtime pillar here, and then the new Pioneer Bakery that's just recently opened that has, you know, those smile cookies we all see at Schnucks. Like, to know that those are here and those options are available. And I'm not gonna lie, Pioneer Bakery is so delicious. Their little iced lattes that they have. They also have a creamery inside of there too. People don't realize this, but they serve ice cream a little bit later in the day for you to go into. So I think it's pretty special, and it's amazing that that's an option for individuals.
It is pretty special.
Yeah.
Now, the real question as we kind of wrap up and get ready for our interview is it as special as Webster?
Oh my goodness.
Because if you're listening to this podcast episode, you also need to listen to our podcast about Webster that we also released on this exact same day.
So I feel like, Joe, we do need to explain this before we deep dive into it. So if you don't mind, not being a Kirkwood or St. Louis native, I found out the very hard way about this long-standing tradition between the Kirkwood and Webster side of it. So as you'll find out in our Webster podcast, that Webster actually 3 miles away. These two cities are 3 miles away from each other. They became their own, suburbs 30 years after each other, but they have always had a long-standing tradition every Thanksgiving or around that time where the two have played off against each other called the Turkey Bowl. Now, it's I think it's the longest-standing high school rivalry this side of the Mississippi. ESPN's covered it. It's a huge thing in our communities. But the fun thing is the Chili Bowl that is the day before. The two food scenes in these two towns actually have a chili cook-off where they will have restaurants come in, the community votes who they want, so there's a Chili Bowl winner. And then they take samples from all of those restaurants. So Kirkwood's 9 restaurants, they'll sample, and then there is a judging team. And so they will sample Kirkwood chili versus Webster Grove chili. And then they announce the same day as the Turkey Day, the Chili Day winner. So then they battle Webster chili versus Kirkwood chili.
Who won the Kirkwood Chili Bowl this year? I forgot. We went.
Webster.
Not Webster. What restaurant?
Parkmore.
No, Parkmore won Webster. Who won the Kirkwood one?
The Kirkwood one was Honeybee's Biscuits.
That's right.
Yes. Their secret ingredient, I think, was bacon jam.
That's exactly right. Ooh, that was good.
So good. But there were so many amazing options. It was so hard to pick. So, I mean, that's just some of the fun things that happened between the two
and the
communities.
Parkmore beat them in the championship.
I think the prior year we had won. So, I mean, to give you an idea of how intense this rivalry is, when Mission Taco was asked, because they have a location here in Kirkwood, if they would be willing to participate in the Kirkwood Chili Bowl, the gentleman said, "No, I'm a long-time Webster resident, and I will not." We appreciate the tradition that continues to go on in the communities between the two.
I love that.
Yes.
I love that.
So.
All right, well, let's go on and have our conversation with Donna. What do you say?
I say let's do it. All right, folks, we are back with our special guest today, and we're excited to have Donna Poe with us. Welcome, Donna.
Welcome, Donna.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here.
Yes, and so Donna plays a very important role here in Kirkwood because she is the executive director of the Downtown Kirkwood Special Business District. So explain to us what that is. Like, what is your role? What do you do down here in Kirkwood?
Oh, I just walk around. No.
How nice.
I do get to do that, but in our office, we manage all the business enhancement and marketing efforts for the district. So all the special events, all the advertising, we oversee the property at Kirkwood Farmers Market. We organize group advertising. We help new businesses when they are moving in to acclimate or work through the process of settling here in downtown Kirkwood. And we make sure that flowers get planted and trash gets picked up, and some other less glamorous things. That's pretty much it.
Tell us a little bit about some of these newer places that are popping up here and there and everywhere in downtown Kirkwood.
We're really excited because the pandemic was really difficult for a lot of people in retail and restaurant, especially the restaurant folks. But people continued to press forward. So we've had a number of places open recently. Pokey Dokey, which is across the street from Kirkwood train station and Station Plaza. We have a new Hot Box Cookies that's on Kirkwood Road.
Next to the Jimmy John's down there.
Yeah.
I just saw that yesterday.
Yeah. High Point, which is not the downtown district, but opened recently at Kirkwood and Big Bend. We're very excited about a new project from Four Hands that's coming in on Argonne across from Billy G's. Sugar Fire is taking over a space on the north end of the business district, and Honeybee's Biscuits and Gravy, which has been with us at the Farmers Market for the last few years, is transitioning to having their own brick and mortar right here in downtown Kirkwood as well.
So why Kirkwood and why now? Obviously the pandemic happened. Was there a campaign that you guys did? Was there outreach? Is there a reason why all of a sudden it just seems like woof, everybody's bringing a location to Kirkwood?
No, there was not a targeted campaign, but we've been at this for a long time, and in preparation for this discussion, I went back and looked at some of our restaurants and the timing, et cetera, on them.
Yeah.
And Spencer's Grill has been here for 75 years.
Yes.
They opened in 1947, but then you see Mike Duffy's has been here for 36 years, and then Kirkwood Ice and Fuel's been here for 31. And then when I look back in the 1990s, we had a number of restaurants open here in downtown Kirkwood: Cafe Provencal, Citizen Kane's, Sunset 44 Bistro, PJ's Tavern. So you can see that we have a really good core here, and these places are all still here.
Yeah. They're always busy too.
That's kind of the secret sauce. They're all still here. They're all doing well. People come, they see that the existing restaurants are doing well. Emo's has been here a long time, and others think, well, this must, they all must be doing something right, and there must be something good about downtown Kirkwood, so I'm going to look into locating here as well. So, and the city has relaxed some of its requirements for restaurants coming in regarding parking and whatever, which has made it a little easier. So there is some of that, administrative stuff that's not very exciting, but does make a difference if you're a restaurateur looking for a place to open your business.
Sure.
It makes a big difference. I think if you're trying, just the other night we brought the family down. We wanted to go to Mission Taco, and parking was tough to find. But after driving around once or twice, we found a spot very close. And that doesn't happen in some communities. Some communities, there's no parking on a Friday night.
Or you're
but
walking.
around here, you find a spot. And then we came over, hopped in, got clementines on the way, found an easy parking spot over there. So having good infrastructure to support the restaurants and the business district that you have in an area like Kirkwood it's not a fun, sexy thing to talk about, but it's just as important to the success of an area like this as anything else. Sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and I love that I can, like you said, you go to one place and then you can walk to another. I mean, there's been a lot of times I've pub crawled with my friends where we go into one, we have a couple drinks, then we go to another, we have an appetizer. Everything's within walking distance, and there's so much variety that you can just make an evening of it, have some fun with it, and I love that about it. So what do you think? So we've got all these great things coming in. Do you feel like there's anything missing in our food community here?
Well, I think we have a really great diverse offering, like you said, and we have a wide variety from white tablecloth restaurants to pubs, but there's kind of that more of the sandwich and salad kind of carry out, or even maybe some kind of fast Italian Something that kind of thing. I think would be a welcome addition. I also think some sort of little, maybe like a bodega or something, that kind of thing. I think that is, those are things that could do well here, because I think there's a market for it because of all the people who work in downtown Kirkwood, especially.
Yeah.
And that's something that we don't have yet.
Yeah.
Being a slow Italian, I recognize that there needs to be some fast Italian. I think in Kirkwood, that's definitely on my radar. Living nearby, something that I wish is definitely a missing piece. There's some good Italian, but a nice fast Italian, I think, is a need, which is awesome. It's interesting though. The diversity is something that you mentioned. Looking back, across the last, decades of Kirkwood, what changes have you seen in the community and in the offerings? What has changed over that time? I mean, you've served in your role now for 17, 18 years, I think we said, and you were at the farmers market before that. What have you witnessed in changing in the community and in the business district in Kirkwood?
Well, I think the diversification of the offerings is really, I mean, at one time we didn't have a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody wanted a Mexican restaurant. Well, now, we have Amigos, which started at Kirkwood Farmers Market, and like Honeybees moved to a brick and mortar, and we have Mission Taco, and everybody knows what a great success story that is.
Yeah.
We didn't have Greek. We have a Greek restaurant, the Greek Kitchen. We used to have lots of pizza. We have more pizza. We have tapas at 119 North. There's just really a wide variety, and kind of what is filled in is things that aren't steakhouse mostly and or pub, kind of in between, and some of the more ethnic things have kind of filled in, which is why it's so fun to come here, because there's lots of choices.
Yeah. No, that's great. Okay, well, let's talk about one of the longest standing parts of Kirkwood, where we're at today is the train station. So give us some insight on how important this train station is to the Kirkwood community.
Well, the train station is on the National Register of Historic Places. It's been here a long time. There's currently an effort by the Historic Kirkwood Train Station Foundation to restore the train station and make some improvements. But this is a functioning Amtrak station, and I learned recently that if you don't have a car and you want to go to our capital in Jefferson City, Amtrak is about the only way to get there.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, and as trains come in, right now we've only have one train a day, but traditionally we have 2 trains a day, and they serve a very diverse group of people, anywhere from students going to college to people going to Herman to go to the wineries.
Guilty. I've done that a couple times.
Yeah.
Well, I'm even laughing over the sign on the wall over here that is a testimonial from somebody that said, Gideon used the potty, so we get to ride the train as his reward.
Right.
So, even the kids love the train station. I remember as a child coming to Jeremiah's Custard Station when it was Jeremiah's, then Custard Station, now Clementine's, and getting a chocolate dipped vanilla cone and watching the trains go by here at the train station.
Yeah, people do that. They bring their kids. They go to Strange Donuts and get donuts, or go to Great Harvest, and there's picnic tables here in the Farmers Market Greenway, and they sit and watch the trains. And for some families, a trip to the train station on Saturday morning is, and some sort of treat is kind of what they do.
Yeah. No, that's great. Now let's also talk about taking the trip to the Kirkwood Farmers Market.
Okay.
It is always hustling and bustling, and I feel like more and more they're getting closer to being open more year round, right? Like they just had a big Valentine's Day fire pits with s'mores. Like they had.
They just added, they just made it indoors.
They did. They closed it off, and they have. And then of course what they do during the fall where they transform
Oh, yeah, the kids
half the
love
market
that.
into like the corn pits and the hay bales.
We find corn and shoes for months after the fall festival at the farmers market. And I'm like, no, kids, don't get in the big corn pit. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
we'll find corn kernels for months.
So let's talk about the success of the farmers market. Like it's a staple of the downtown area.
It is. It's an attraction. It's like the train station. It's at the heart of downtown Kirkwood. We have a very long time operator there. They've changed their name to the Summit, but long time market goers will know them as Summit Produce, and they are there in the summer, and they run the fall pumpkin patch concession, and they actually build kind of a shelter indoor store for Christmas, for when they have the Christmas tree market and the gingerbread shop. So the folks at Summit have decided that they wanted to try this year being open in February and March. January, is just really too cold. I mean, they have walls up and they have heaters and everything in the indoor market, but January is January.
Yep.
But we've had some snow for the month of February for their first weekend.
Yeah.
But I think the day they were supposed to open is the day we got the snow. But I think things are going pretty well. That will just transition from now, which is February. In April, the farmers market will reopen. More as its seasonal market, and we'll have our vendors that come in, the farmers that come in with the produce and poultry and other kinds of meat, and we have some people who do fresh salsa. We have breakfast burritos. We have.
I love a breakfast burrito.
Oh, Jack salsa.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Jack salsa's good.
Well, the tamale man's there, right?
The tamale man comes on. I don't know what their schedule's going to be this year, but yes, the tamale man. So and then we have music on about every other Saturday morning too. So it's pretty fun, vibrant place to be on a Saturday, and downtown Kirkwood is very busy on Saturday morning between all the Britt's Bakehouse and Pioneer Bakery and the baked goods at the farmers market and Great Harvest and Strange Donuts and all the places that people want to mill around and go. OK Hatchery, and all the shopping, all the stores and boutiques. There's a lot to do here on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
There is. So having been in Kirkwood for as long as you have, you're not going to tell us, like you said, what your favorite place is, like asking you to pick one of your favorite children. But what do you miss that has closed in Kirkwood? For some of our listeners that may have been around for a long time, what was in Kirkwood at one point that is no longer here that you just miss? And I'll give you an example of what I miss. As a child growing up, where Honeybee's Biscuits is going to be was Club Taco, and before that it was Ranouche, and then before that, many years before, it was Velvet Freeze. And as a child, I remember playing the original Super Mario game with not Super Mario Brothers, but the original Super Mario with the little crabs that ran across, and playing that at Velvet Freeze as a young child getting ice cream. And that's one of the things and experiences that I miss about downtown Kirkwood is Velvet Freeze. Do you have one like that as well?
Blue Water Grill.
Okay. Everyone's got one. Every community's got a place that you're like, I wish that place had never left.
But everybody will give you a different answer, though, probably.
Yeah.
But
Everybody has their tried and true.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Do you have one? You've only been here 11 or 12 years, so I don't know if you've got one.
No, so my husband grew up here.
True. Okay.
His dad had a business down here, so he grew up he tell me stories. When the tree got cut down by the library, he was lamenting about how he hid in the tree one time, and his dad thought he was kidnapped, and it turned into this big child hunt. And he's like, I was just sitting in the tree laughing at everyone. But Of course, you don't realize until you become a parent yourself, and then it comes back to you tenfold. No, but I remember there's certain things that I remember. There was an Italian restaurant where Billy G's used to be, where he took me. Well, I forget the name of it.
Massa's?
Yes, he took me there on a date one time. So nervous and just trying to be so formal and polite with it, which was very cute to watch. And then Jeremiah's was the other place too. He'd always go there and get the cherry chip ice cream. That was like his favorite. It was one of our first dates. So, but Clementine's is an excellent person to fill in that space. I think she's really done a good job.
It is. My kids already are like, anytime we go after we eat, we're like, let's go to Clementine's, they say. And I'm like, okay. Like, oh, pull my
twist my
leg.
arm.
Right.
Gooey butter ice cream for everybody. Oh, darn.
Yes.
It's so hard. Well, my last question, I know Lydia has anything else, but my last question for you, because we are releasing these podcasts on the same day of a Kirkwood versus Webster.
Oh, hell loaded
This
question.
is the loaded question here. Why Kirkwood and not Webster? Go partisan just for a minute here on us.
I think there's more here. There's more options. It's laid out a little differently, and we're just nicer.
That's the content I was looking for.
Wink,
That's the
wink,
throwdown.
wink,
That's
wink.
the throwdown I needed. Being a Kirkwood born and raised, and my kids will go to Kirkwood High School. That's the kind of throwdown that I want to see.
Really,
from,
are you
from
prepared
Kirkwood.
for the throwback on this? Like, it is intense for the people that are listening to this that don't understand. Like, this is a full-on, like, it's a playful now, but
Oh,
like,
it's totally playful, and it's very
our
respectful across all boards.
Schools will run can drives against other elementary schools, so like Kirkwood schools versus Webster schools to see who gets the most. I mean, we have a spirit day that's called Tacky Day, where you're supposed to wear Webster's colors on that day. So it is, it's intense.
It's a big deal.
Long time.
Big deal.
But it's good to know that we're nicer.
We'll see what Webster has to say about
Yes,
Kirkwood
yes.
when we visit with counterparts over there.
No, I love it. Well, Donna, I think you have done a great job giving us the full scope of downtown Kirkwood and the beauty that it is, and I love it. So, thank you for your time today.
You're very welcome.
Yes, thank you, Donna.
Yes.
Continued luck in Kirkwood, and hopefully even more stuff moves in.
Before we leave, is there anything coming up that would be fun for our listeners to come to? Any fun festivals, anything new?
Well, once the weather warms, Farmers Market will open up the world premiere of Karate Kid. The musical is coming to Stages St. Louis.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're very excited about that. So there are some preparations that are being made for that.
When's the
The Route 66 Festival
Yes.
is June 11th.
Okay.
Working on that right now.
Nice.
That's all falling into place pretty well.
Yay. Well, good. Well, make sure you check out Downtown Kirkwood's website if you're looking at some of the events and when the opening of the farmers market is. But otherwise,
What is
Donna-
Downtown Kirkwood's website
Yes,
for our
what
listeners?
is it, Donna?
www.downtownkirkwood.com.
There
Perfect.
you go. Easy enough. All right. Well, thank you. And we're about ready to have a delicious day in Kirkwood, just like every day.
Lydia, I think it's really interesting. Donna answered my question on all these restaurants and new things that are coming to Kirkwood. It was not a campaign. There was not like a giant outreach of like, come to Kirkwood. For some reason, all these restaurants just felt like at one time they all needed to just, bam, hit Kirkwood.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what is it? It's like a magnet went off, and like the restaurant radar of all the restaurateurs in St. Louis were like, what? We need a location in Kirkwood. It was like the cool thing to do, and they all rushed to do it. And we're the better for it because we get to eat all these delicious things. We hope they're all successful, and we hope they replicate that success in other areas so that we can go scout them out too.
I think it's just because we're nice that they all came over. So, what can I say?
We're interested to see if that's the same way in Webster.
Yes. Well, we want to thank you so much for joining us as we talked about Kirkwood today. And make sure to listen to our Webster Grove podcast. That'll be following right after.
Your hosts for today's podcast are Joe Prosperi.
And Lydia Gwynn.
Your producer is Veronica Moheski, and this has been a production of 9 PBS in St. Louis. Special thank you to Donna Poe from the Downtown Kirkwood Special Business District for being our guest today. And thank you to the volunteers here at the Kirkwood train station for letting us record in their space.